Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Wineback Wednesday, and obviously we are well and truly entrenched in the winter months, and the weather down here in Adelaide is pretty cool. I mean, there's a couple of warmish days, but we've had plenty of rain, and it is good old stout weather. So thought I would talk about the local product, one of the local products, Southwark Old Stout. The brewery has had quite a history. It's changed hands a number of times. It was started in 1886 by the Torrenside Brewery, which was down in Southwark. And if you remember the old SO Brewing site, which down on Port Road next to the Torrens, that's where it was originally sited, the Torrens side. So it started there. So Southwark, the suburb of Southwark, is now Theberton. And in 1898 it merged with the Walkerville Brewing Company, a cooperative, which then obviously the site was still down there. And then by 1910 that group was the largest brewing company in South Australia. And then moving right along, in 1938 the Nathan Brewery took over, and they developed a beer called Nathan Bitter, which when Southwark took over, that became Southwark Bitter. And I reckon a lot of us would remember Southwark Bitter. I think it was called the Green Death, because it actually originally had a green label on it. My old man, Dad, had he loved Southwark Bitter, and always had a long neck floating around in the fridge. Today it's got a blue label. So, but if you do remember, it distinctly had a funny sort of colour green label. Okay, and so that was in 1951. And then in the 1980s, it became the West End Brewing Company, because they had another site actually when that change came along. They were actually down on the western end of Hindley Street, which is obviously West Terrace, hence the West End Brewery. So when they moved over, they called it, obviously changed the name to West End to continue the name over there. And then 1993, Lion Nathan took over. And then in 2009, Kirin, the Japanese company, took over Lion Nathan, and obviously that was part of the portfolio. And then they closed it completely in 2021, and then manufacturing or brewing went interstate. And then all the beers come back. So obviously over those years we've had Southwark, and then we've had West End, and the West End is still produced, West End Draft, etc. But today I'm tasting the Southwark Old Stout. Obviously because it's winter, and it's been made for many decades. But in the 1960s, when the South Australian Brewing Company had it, they did a deal with Guinness and made Guinness under licence here in South Australia for a number of years. And also part of the agreement was they had to stop making their stout, obviously to reduce competition in the marketplace, which is sort of an obvious. And then in the 1980s, when that agreement came to an end, Southwark Old Stout was resurrected, and then they forged ahead and started making it. It was a London Imperial Russian stout, because in the 18th century, I suppose the imperial leaders of Russia, and particularly Empress Catherine the Great, she really loved those London Imperial Stouts. And so there was companies, breweries in London that would then make their stouts for the Imperial Court in Russia, for that family in particular. So that's where the style came from. They're all rich, dark ales with lovely sort of subtle sort of bittersweet characters. There's this lovely roasted roasted malt characters, coffee notes, and dark chocolate. Stout is quite distinct. And I've just got my large wine glass here, but the recommendation is that you actually taste them in snifter glasses, which is sort of shaped like brandy balloons, or cognac glasses. So without further ado, let's give it a go. And so it's made under as I said, I might just use this. It's a London Imperial Russian Stout style, which they perfected over the years. I'll just I won't fill it right up. It's pretty. It's all right. There's a bit of a head on it, so it's a bit like Guinness when you split the G, but there's nothing on this one. So, but they are extremely velvety and creamy, and you can see that, and it takes a while for it to settle. But straight away you can smell that roasted malt. It's a sort of subtle coffee bean characters. It's even, not you can smell bitterness, but you just think, that's going to be, it is that sort of coffee bean chocolate, dark chocolate sort of characters. Again on the palate, there's a lovely creaminess comes through. And at the back, as you're tasting it through the mid palate, there's that roasted malt, and then that sort of bit of coffee bean comes through, that sort of little subtle bitterness of that sort of dark chocolate notes as well. But long, sort of really flavoursome. It's funny actually you say that, on a bit of a tangent, there actually are known health benefits of Stout. It's full of antioxidants and flavonoids, which are great for, cell health overall. Also, there is some research that also indicates that it can reduce and maintain low cholesterol levels. Obviously, drink in moderation. Don't go crazy and think you've got high cholesterol and go and buy a carton and drink as much as you can in one day to hopefully reduce it. But no, drink it in moderation. Drink alcohol in moderation. We should reinforce that. But yes, it can manage. There's some research that suggests that it can manage cholesterol levels. It's got a prebiotic component to it, so obviously good for gut health. And it also has iron, calcium, folate, and a bunch of vitamin B vitamins in it as well. So they say that women who would like to get pregnant should drink Stout. Obviously, it's good for folate and stuff like that. So there's obviously a lot of little gossip around the place about. Gossip's actually true. A lot of it. All beers have got levels of things like that in it, but Stout is a lot higher in concentration of those things. So there are some health benefits, but drink it in moderation, of course. So there we go. I thought because this weather really lends itself to a glass of Stout every now and then, just to warm the cockles of your heart, per se. And I'm looking at the Southwark Old Stout, which has a bit of an interesting past, but it is thriving in South Australia. They were actually going to stop making it, and then they sort of said, well, why don't we just make it during winter? And then there's some very, very staunch supporters of this product that really rallied against Kieran, and they do make it all year round, and it's only sold in South Australia, I believe. So there you go, the Southwark story, Southwark Old Stout. I'm going to enjoy this. Thanks for listening. Speak to you soon.